In the space of a week, Peru's president has been implicated in a widening corruption scandal that could end with him being pushed out of office. A vote in Peru's Congress at the end of last week began impeachment proceedings against President Kuczynski. He admits a company he owned did business with Odebrecht more than 10 years ago, including a period in which he held public office. But he says he was not running the company at the time and denies any wrongdoing.
Actions revolving around corruption are nothing new when evaluating Latin American regions of the world. More often than not, countries within this region report to experience high levels of corruption on a daily basis. The website Transparency International is a site that focuses on bringing awareness to this issue across the globe. The diagram Corruption Perception Index 2018 is one of many that can be found within the website. The chart serves to compare the levels of corruption that different countries across the world are experiencing every year. The website uses colors to signify an increase and decrease amount of corruption. Looking at the Latin American regions, we see a significant amount of darker colors signifying an increased amount of corruption throughout these countries. Evaluating charts like the previous one makes it easy to wonder what sort of factors might play a role in the determination of corruption that is being experienced within a region. Delia Ferreira Rubio, the chair of the website Transparency International, offers her expert opinion as she states, "Corruption is much more likely to flourish where democratic foundations are weak, and as we have seen in many countries where undemocratic and populist politicians can use it to their advantage." Rubio's opinion proposes the idea that economic levels as well as democratic state of a country play a major role in the determination of how much corruption might be experienced. An economist and professor from Technical University of Ostrava, Antonio Andres, conducted and published his research on the connection between these two factors. In his work, he discusses a direct correlation between economic disparities to corrupt actions. The two charts published within his work have individual meaning of their own, but when put side by side, they support the claims that Andres and Rubio make. As seen within the charts, when the amount of inequality increases over the span of a couple years, the second chart dealing with corruption seems to mimic the exponential growth. Andres then goes on to provide his audience with examples of the struggles that those from lower economic backgrounds might seem to be experiencing. He states, corruption reduces funds for social programs, including education and health. Further, since the beneficiaries of tax evasion and exemptions are more likely to be relatively wealthy, the tax burden falls almost exclusively on the poor, making the effective tax system regressive. The examples listed serve to provide a real-life understanding of the way that economic differences play a major role in the amount of prosperity that an individual might experience throughout their stay in Latin American regions. However, it is hard to obtain accurate data on the issue of corruption and inequality due to various factors. As an expert in the region of Latin America, Professor Enrique Pumar from Santa Clara University weighs in his opinion on how the data shown above could be compromised, as he shares.
People don't want to come forward because sometimes they benefit from the corruption, sometimes they are afraid, also because sometimes they don't know. They know that it's corruption, but they don't know how to prove it. The documents are not public. So if you go to Latin America, everybody's going to say, oh, so-and-so is so corrupt, but they cannot prove it because in Latin America, we don't expect people to publish their income taxes. So how can you prove it? I mean, one thing is what we think, another is what really happens. In order for us to prove what really happens, we need to have the evidence, and we don't have it.
The issue with these acts of corruption, however, then becomes the impact that they leave on the country as a whole, as well as the disadvantages that it seems to result in. Transparency International draws a map that demonstrates the amount of trade that some regions of Latin America seem to be investing in. Like the chart before, the darker regions signify little to no trade. From the analysis made from the website's research findings, a higher level of corruption seems to be connected with a lower level of trade. The truth seems to be that other countries do not want to become involved in trade with regions known for having a high amount of corruption. Bumar puts this into his own words as he says,
when a country is very corrupt, it's going to scare many businesses to come to the country because they say, well, in order for me to survive, I'm going to have to pay off a lot of officials because they are corrupt. So they say, well, why would I go to this country when I can go to this country next door and I don't have to pay off the officials?
As the connection between corruption and inequality now seems to be clear, it is crucial to determine what methods can be taken to alleviate some of the impact off of the lower classes being affected. Transparency International gives 3 ways in which they are doing just this. On their end, they believe that protecting activists, demanding justice, and spreading knowledge about the issue can help make a change. With this, you might now be wondering how you as an individual can also help. The strengthening of institutions, movement to close the implementation gap, empowerment of people, and the protection of right to the press are all individual ways in which each and every person can help obtain a just and equal environment. Now that you two are knowledgeable on this topic, what will you do to make a change?